Hey there, friend. Welcome back to the Firm My Life course. This is video number 8. Today we're talking about money principles. Here's the thing. I said this, or I mentioned it in the last video, but there's no true stability until you have financial stability. Like, money is such a big deal. It's so important. And, so many people have such a bad view of money. Like, I grew up all my life hearing that little phrase, like, money is the root of all evil. And they took that verse and they took it so out of proportion. But the truth is, money's a good thing. Like, money can buy freedom. Money gives you peace of mind. Money gives you the ability to provide for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. Like, money gives you options. Money gives you the ability to do good in the world, right? There's so many good things about having money. And I've seen over the last few years where there seems to be a shift coming into the church where people are pushing for us to go back to owning things, right? To starting businesses, to doing bigger things with your life. And I think that's a really good thing. I think people, especially Christians, they are to be walking into God's blessing. And Christians are to be the ones that are in control of these big companies and these big things around the world. Because with that, you can do good. You can bring about a change. You can, help so many different people, so many different things in life. So I don't want you to have the idea that money's a bad thing. I've seen so many times where people who grow up poor, where they're always judging others as if the rich are somehow bad. They're somehow just evil, right? But the truth is, money only makes you more of who you already are. Like, if you're a poor jerk, you're going to be a rich jerk. If you're a kind, compassionate, poor person, you'll be a kind, compassionate, rich person. Money makes you more of who you already are. So let me talk to you a little bit about my story. I mentioned it in the intro video. We talked about, how I started a business at a very young age and how I had no financial wisdom. I made so many bad decisions, bad choices with debt and credit cards and lines of credit and mortgages and overdraft fees and just on and on and on. After all that happened, I didn't file bankruptcy. I just kind of quit it all. And I just was left with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt. Some of it was real estate debt. I had some debt on my house, some debt on my shop. I had debt on my vehicles. And there was a lot of consumer debt. And so I was in a pretty bad place. Like, I needed to make so much money to get out of the hole. It was pretty ridiculous. But I was able to do pretty well on the real estate, and I put a lot of time and effort into it. Like, I grew up in a house that we did a lot of building and remodeling and stuff we knew how to do. So I was able to do that with my home, and I was able to upgrade it, and I was able to do that with my shop. And so I had some equity in those buildings. But still yet, in order for me to get that money out of them, I had to put a lot of work into them. And we had to make a lot of sacrifices. And so my wife and I, we said, look, we're going to do this. We're going to find true stability in our life. So we're going to do that. We're going to as Dave Ramsey says, we're going to live like no one else so that later we can live like no one else. So we ended up selling our vehicles. We ended up selling our home once we got it remodeled. And then we turned around and we borrowed from a friend a 20-foot RV with one slide out that had a couple little bitty 2-foot wide bunk beds in the back of it. The table folded into a bed, and then there was a full-size mattress that folded down out of the wall, and there was a curtain that pulled across it. That was our bedroom, was that curtain. We ended up parking that RV in my parents' front yard. Now, coming from somebody who had never slept a day in my parents' house since I was 18 years old, it was a very humbling experience. It was very difficult. And my wife and I, we'd been married for several years. We had 3 kids at the time. So here we are in this RV in my parents' yard with 3 kids and broke. in debt. So we ended up able to remodel that shop. We got it sold after a little while. And I turned around and I took that money and I built me a house, a smaller house than we had. And man, I'm telling you, that was a really tough season because we were living in that trailer. Plus, I was working a full-time job and I was building a house. And when I say building a house, like I said, we grew up as builders. So we literally built the house from the ground up by hand. Man, it was an unbelievable amount of work, unbelievable amount of stress, just on our marriage, just on our kids. It was tough, but we made it, and we sacrificed, and we done what we had to do. And I'm telling you, that first night that we moved into that house out of that RV, and we knew that house was paid for, and 90% of the rest of our debt was paid for, it was just an unbelievable good feeling. The sacrifice was worth it. So, my first point here for you is get out of debt. So many people try to tell you, invest here, put your money over here. You want to get rich, buy Bitcoin or whatever it is, right? It changes with the season. But the truth is, your income is your number one wealth building tool. But if you were paying all of that income on credit cards, and I think I was paying like a 26.99% interest rate on some of those credit cards. Like, all your money's going out the door. Like, you can't invest that money anywhere and get that kind of return on it, right? Like, you've got to get rid of that debt. The Bible says that debt is a taskmaster, or it's a slave master. Like, you become a slave to debt. And that's exactly what had happened to me and my wife. That's where we were at. And the freedom that we found once we got free from that debt, it was just awesome. It was incredible. Look, you might not be a builder. You might not be able to do the things I did if you're in debt today. But you've got something, right? You can figure it out. It may take some sacrifice. It's going to take some hard work, but do it. Figure it out. Sell something. Deliver pizzas. Drive an Uber. Whatever, right? Figure out how to get rid of that debt. Dave Ramsey, he teaches a really great principle called the Debt Snowball. And man, if you don't know him, look him up. He's all over the place, and just an incredible teacher when it comes to money and money principles. And I strongly urge you to dig into that guy and his teachings. But what he teaches on debt is he calls it the debt snowball, and he says a snowball starts really small, but when it's rolling downhill, it gathers speed, and it gathers more snow, and it becomes bigger and bigger. And so when you're paying off debt, he says start with the smallest one and pay it off. Even if it doesn't have the highest interest rate, he said just start with the smallest one, because when you get a win and you get one paid off, it makes you feel good. It begins to build momentum. He said if you attack the biggest one first, he said you'll give up before you get it done. But start with the smallest. And then take all the money that you were putting into that small one, all the extra money you had, plus that minimum payment you were making on it, put it into the second one. Once you get it paid off, you take all that money you was putting into it, plus that extra money that you got from the minimum payments you were making, and put it on the third one, and then the fourth one, and then the fifth one. And so since you're making minimum payments on all of them, except for the smallest, you're able to add that to it. The snowball's getting bigger. And so over time, by the time you get to those big ones, you have such a big snowball, you're able to knock them things out way faster. My friend, it's worth it. The freedom it brings, the stability it brings, the peace it brings into your life, I'm telling you, it's worth the trial that it takes to get there. Live like no one else, so later you can live and give like no one else. Now, here's another money principle. Somewhere along those lines, when we had moved into our house, we hadn't been there very long, and we didn't have all those payments, but I still wasn't making very much money, so we were just barely getting by, and we had nothing in the savings account. And one day my wife called me, and she said, hey, our baby, I think she was 2 years old at the time, she said one of the other older kids was pulling her out from underneath the bed, and they were pulling her by her arm, and she hurt her arm. Now she's walking around the house crying, holding her arm. And I was like, oh no, my heart sunk. I was like, how am I going to pay for this? I don't have no insurance. We don't have no money. What are we going to do? So she took her in. Thankfully, the nurse there, they had seen it many times, and they said it was just nurse's elbow, whatever that is, and they was able to pop it back into place, and man, she was just fine. She forgot all about it by the time she got home. And it was like $100 or something. But man, it really taught my wife and I a lesson, because we realized we are not quite finished with this journey yet. Yeah, we've got out a lot of our debt, but we need some money put back for an emergency, for a problem, for a rainy day. So we did. We began to save up, and I remember when we first got our very first $1,000 in our emergency fund. And it wasn't a lot, but it was just such a peace. It just made me sleep better, because I knew if something happens, if I got a blowout tomorrow, the tire goes bad, the battery goes dead on a truck, or the washer goes out, I've got a little bit extra. It ain't a crisis because I have something put back. Once I got to that place, man, my mindset changed. My whole mentality about money changed. Like, I just had a peace of mind. All right, so focus on those two things. I would suggest getting at least $1,000 emergency fund first. That way you have that peace of mind because you know things are going to happen. And then second off, work on getting rid of the debt. Work on paying that debt off. I got those out of order, and it almost caught me. But that's what I would do in your case. Now, the next thing is you've got to understand the idea of budgeting. This one took me a while to get a hold of. And what was happening is my money was disappearing. And I didn't know where it was going. And I read a verse in the Bible, and the Bible says, know the state of your flocks and herds. And you see in the Bible times, flocks and herds, that was your income, that was your wealth, that was your career, right? That was the money you had. And so what the Bible was trying to show me was pay attention to your money. Know where it's going. Be a good steward of your money, of your finances. And you do that with a budget. So there's a lot of different budgeting apps out there. There's a lot of different things you can use. I use the Everyday, or I believe it's the Every Dollar budget app. And the reason is it connects to my bank account, and I use a debit card 90, maybe 99% of the time. So when that app connects to that bank account, every single charge on my debit card, every direct withdrawal out of my bank account is logged onto that debit card or onto that app. And so I'm able to see where they're at, when it got spent, and where it got spent. And so I'm able to take those expenses and put them into categories. And this app already has all the categories built out. There's a lot of different categories there. But it puts them in categories, and I'm able to say, hey, I spent this on rent or on mortgage or whatever it is. I spent this on groceries. I spent this on eating out. I spent this on lunch. I spent this on movies. I spent this on clothes. Like, I spent this on insurance, whatever it is. Like, I'm able to build all these categories out, and I'm able to see exactly where my money's going. And it's surprising at the end of the month when you look at it, how much money just went to the miscellaneous bucket. It's like, that's where all my money's going. We need to figure out where this money is being spent. And so when you know these things and you're able to track it and you're able to look at it, you're able to see it, then it just gives you so much more control over it. And honestly, you will find more money than you thought that you had. All right, so those are the 3 money principles that I want you to fully understand, fully grasp. All right? Learn how to control debt, control your spending, like figure out how to get out of that debt. Look up Dave Ramsey, read his books, go through his stuff if that's something that you're struggling with in your life right now. And also, get an emergency fund in place. Get a little bit of peace of mind in your life. It's worth it. And then thirdly, budget. Do all 3 of these. All right, get on these 3 quickly, fastly. Get some excellence there in your life, and you begin to be able to see where all this stuff is at. Use the Every Dollar budget app, or get you a legal pad and just write it out. You do you, man. All right? So in the next video, video 9, we're going to talk about how to make more money by becoming more valuable in the marketplace. It's a good one. I like it. All right? I'll see you there.